There's a small village tucked away in the misty hills of Himachal, a place called Dharanpur. No one really visits it anymore, not since that night. But if you ever go there, you'll still see the house standing at the edge of the forest. Locals call it the house that whispers. They say if you walk past it after sunset, the wind itself changes. It starts carrying voices, soft, pleading voices that sound like they're coming from inside the walls. But you see, none of that mattered to Arav. He was 22, a city guy studying architecture. His college project was about abandoned colonial homes in rural India. So when he heard about this haunted mansion, he thought it would be perfect. He wasn't scared. He said ghosts were a design flaw of the imagination. So one October afternoon, Arav arrived at Dharampur with his camera, notebook, and overconfidence. The house was easy to find. It stood alone, surrounded by leafless trees and silence thick enough to taste. Its wooden roof sagged, and the paint had peeled off like dried skin. The windows were shattered, but somehow they still reflected light, even though the sky was overcast. When Arav pushed the main door, it creaked open with a long, painful moan. Inside, the air smelled of damp wood and something faintly metallic, like old blood. Still, he walked in, his camera flashing in intervals. Room after room, dusty, decayed, and yet strangely preserved. The furniture hadn't rotted. The mirrors weren't broken. Everything looked used, as if the residents had left only yesterday. On the wall hung a large family portrait, a man, woman, and a little girl. The child's eyes seemed to follow him as he moved. He laughed nervously. "Creepy, but kind of artistic," he muttered. That's when he heard it. A faint whisper. Just one word. "Leave." He froze. The whisper was soft but close, like someone had spoken directly into his ear. He spun around. No one. He convinced himself it was wind through cracks, took a deep breath, and continued exploring. By evening, the house was darker. The power bank he brought to light his camera flickered weakly. He sat in the main hall, scribbling notes by flashlight. Then something strange happened. The clock on the wall, covered in cobwebs, started ticking. It shouldn't have. Its hands had rusted solid. Tick, tick, tick. Each tick echoed louder than it should have, like it was inside his skull. Arav stood, trying to convince himself he was imagining things. But when he looked up again, he saw something impossible. The family portrait on the wall. It had changed. Now the parents were standing alone. The child was gone. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, pointed his flashlight at it again, and the girl was back. But her eyes weren't just painted anymore. They were wet, glimmering, like someone crying behind the canvas. His flashlight flickered again, and this time, the whisper returned. Only this time, it wasn't one voice. It was many, soft, layered, weaving over each other, repeating in a rhythm. "Don't look behind you." Now this is one of those moments you wish people in horror stories listened to the warning, right? But Arav didn't. He turned around, and standing in the doorway behind him was the little girl from the portrait. Her face was pale, her mouth slightly open as if to speak, and her eyes, oh God, her eyes, were black pools of emptiness. She took one step forward, then another. Arav dropped his flashlight. The room plunged into darkness. For a moment, he didn't move. He crouched, feeling blindly for the flashlight, his breath short and fast. Then he found it, switched it on, and pointed it straight ahead. She was gone. He exhaled shakily and decided it was time to leave. Project be damned. But when he reached for the door, it wouldn't open. He pulled, kicked, slammed it. It didn't budge. And then came the sound, a creaking from upstairs. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, heavy. Someone, or something, was moving above him. He grabbed his camera, the only weapon he had, and climbed the staircase. At the top was a long hallway with 5 doors. 4 were closed. The 5th, at the far end, was slightly open, light spilling through it. He inched closer, his heartbeat sinking with each creak of the floorboards. The door opened wider by itself, revealing a small child's bedroom. Toys scattered, bed neatly made, and on the wall, drawings. Crude crayon sketches of a smiling girl, her parents, and a black figure standing behind them, always behind them. Arav's flashlight caught a small wooden chest in the corner. He knelt, opened it, and found dozens of old photographs. Each photo showed the same family, same house, but with subtle differences. In every newer photo, the black figure behind them seemed to move closer, until in the last photo, it was touching the child's shoulder. Suddenly, a cold hand brushed Arav's neck. He spun. Nothing. But the whispers had returned, louder now, all around him, circling him. He's still here. He never left. The air grew colder. The smell of rot filled the room. His camera began recording automatically. He hadn't even pressed the button. Through the camera's screen, he saw movement, something behind him, approaching. But when he turned physically, the room was empty. He aimed the camera again. The screen showed the girl, standing right in front of him, whispering something inaudible. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. And then suddenly, she screamed. The scream wasn't human. It shattered glass, cracked mirrors, and threw him backward. As he hit the floor, he felt hands grabbing his legs. Dozens of them, pulling him toward the floor itself. The wooden planks beneath him split open, revealing darkness below, like the house had a mouth. He clawed at the floor, screamed, but the hands dragged him down, deeper, until the only thing left of him was his camera, still recording. 3 weeks later, a police search team found Arav's camera half buried in the dirt behind the house. No sign of him, just the camera. When they played back the footage, most of it was static. But in one section, they saw something. A frame of Arav walking through the house saying, "Beautiful structure. I could even live here." Then silence. Then whispers. Then the final frame. The little girl standing alone in front of the camera, smiling faintly. Behind her, the black figure. It moved closer until the screen cut to black. The camera kept recording for 6 hours after that. Only one sound was heard through it all. "Leave," repeated softly over and over. "Today the house still stands. Locals avoid it. Even birds don't perch on its roof. Some nights when the fog is heavy, people say you can see lights flicker inside, like someone's still exploring. And if you listen closely, the wind carries faint echoes of a voice. Young, curious, terrified. Beautiful structure. I could even live here." Then the whispers return. Then silence. Because in Dharampur, no one really leaves the house that whispers. It just finds someone new to speak through. If you made it this far into the dark, you're braver than most. If you enjoyed the story, leave a comment. Tell me what scared you the most. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me again next time for another tale from the shadows.